Saddle up your horses.
Okay, what we're going to try and start doing here in preparation for the building of the house is figure out how big we actually want the bags to be. These are roughly 16 by 30 inch polypropylene bags. These are more than likely going to be bags that are inside walls, not outside walls, but we're going to see how much dirt, first of all, it's going to take to fill one up without doing any kind of mixes or anything like that. Because we want to try and get it to a certain size. You know, we want to be able to pound it down and see what it was actually going to look like whenever we begin. So that whenever we begin this process, we know how much to measure out in each of these buckets exactly. And so we'll get that started for you and bring you back on board as soon as I'm ready to show you what that looks like. Okay, so we have got a line marked in this bucket at a half, so we know how much a half a bucket is, because as we're building, we don't want these buckets to become too heavy. You know, we're not going to carry an entire bucket to try and fill up the bags. Half a bucket at a time. Okay. Is that about half? Okay. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and put that in here. This is the third bucket, so this is a bucket and a half. And we're just trying to see how much that is. I think a bucket and a half is probably all we're going to do as far as that. Now I know there's different methods on how to actually be able to tie this together. And see, we're just starting. We are just starting with this. I do have my knife. I wonder if I can kind of weave or open something up with this. So one of the ways that I saw was to just kind of poke holes through the top, and I don't think there was any kind of a set distance for those. And so this is what we're going to try. This was just how the bag came. This little rope thing or whatever came just kind of attached to it. I'm going to just try and feed this rope around so that we can actually close it up. It's the first thing we're going to do. So, Kyla, so you want to write. Yeah, just keep weaving it that way, and I'll weave this one this way through these little holes. For the 16 by 30 bags, okay, bucket and a half is all we're going to use to fill it. So we will, and the key is to try and keep it as the bag as square as possible. Let me just poke one more in there.
Looks more round than square.
Just put it and bring that one back through. And what we're going to try and do then is tie this together. We're going to set it down on its side, and we're going to take where the little okay, there's a little sledgehammer. We got to make things to, okay, and see if you can go all the way around. Let's go all the way around with this. Okay, we'll take it around several times like so. Again, that's just a bucket and a half. We're just using a Orscheln 5-gallon bucket with that, but it looks like a bucket and a half may be all we do. I'll put this in a bow tie because we may end up just taking this all this dirt back out of here like this. Okay, it's not a complete flat area, but oh my goodness. so we don't have tampers yet. I haven't even made those, but we're going to tamp that down. And even the corners though, let me tuck the corners in, because we want to try and get this bag as flat and as square as we can. See, now you're looking at some real pure amateurs here. We have not done this. This is our very first attempt. Okay, and don't be gentle. You can hit it harder than that, Kane. Okay, we're going to see what we're going to, and obviously those corners, I got to figure out those corners a little better. And we're going to want it to be as square as we can possibly get it. And then, you have the tape measure on you still? It's right over here. Keep going, just keep smashing on it, and try and get those corners as square as we can, because we got to be able to put another bag like right up against this. I heard it's a bad thing if you don't get this square. And so with that 16 by 30, when it's full with a bucket and a half, and Kylie, any of this that you're hearing me say, you can record. 20 by 14, and it's about 5 inches thick. With that, here, let me pound on it a little bit. See what that's. From what I remember is, you hit it until like this thing will do more of a thump. Yeah, we're gonna have to somehow figure out how to do the ends better. You hear it, it starts to change. The sound of it starts to change. See, you can start to see some ripping right there. And it may be because we've had these bags for a while. See, now feel how solid that is, Kane. See, that's pretty solid. Okay, that's about, I would think, how much we want to do that. But let's see how that has changed. So that's taken it down to 4 inches. It's really packed. 4 inches, and made it wider, 15 inches wide, and about 22 inches long when it's really packed. We'll have to, like I said, we're gonna have to square those corners up. So anyway, we're gonna try and make other bags this same size, and we have different types of things here, from to put with the clay, and there is some silt in there from the from the soil test that we have done. We'll just try and add in, you know, maybe 10% or so of the Quickcrete, mix that all in there, make another bag up, have it a little bit wet. This right here is a Type S hydrated lime. I'm assuming that masonry lime, and from what I've read, they say construction lime, that masonry and construction lime are the same thing. I'm going to assume that, I don't know. But lime, especially for the stem wall, that is the first 3 walls that will be built on the foundation, will be good to resist, or water resistant. And so it'll help keep the water off of those. And we want those close to the ground. So we will be trying some of that. We also just have some all-purpose gravel, just some pea gravel type stuff. We're going to do a bag or two using that in part of the mix as well, and see what happens. And we also just have some sand, just some regular all-purpose sand, and we'll put that in with the clay and silt mix as well, and see if there's something different. But this bag right here is nothing but plain old dirt. The clay and the silt mix that we have in this big pile that you see right here, okay, that we're going to use to build the house. So we're just experimenting and see what happens. We'll keep you informed, and we'll try and fill some more of these bags, and go from there. Let you fill you in on what we did. Okay? All right, we'll be back in a bit. Something else that we didn't necessarily think about is with these bags, again, these are only, this one right here is only 4 inches thick. What is the proper thickness for the bag? I don't know, and I haven't been able to really locate or see anything. I don't know if it depends on the soil quality. I don't know if it's you know, if you're limited budget-wise as to make the walls thicker, so that you know, you need to have, so you'll have less rows of the bags. I don't know if it's because of the thermodynamics with the thicker wall to help keep the house cool inside whenever it's hot out, and just the opposite in the winter time. I don't know as to how thick, what the proper thickness is for the bags, how you want to make it. So we are going to do another bag, but now that we have the marks on our buckets, we do have, this is exactly 2 full buckets, 5-gallon buckets of dirt that is in this wheelbarrow. And so what we are going to do is see if we can get 2 full buckets, all of this, into one of these bags. And if we can, we'll tie it together and we'll smash it down as well. And you know, keep that in mind and make a determination if we want to go with a thinner bag, where it's only 4 inches high, but a thicker wall, or if the bags are going to be bigger than that. Well, we'll take a break here for a second so you don't have to watch us fill the bag, and we'll pound it down and compare it to bag A right there. Okay? All right. Okay, we're getting to the end of the 2 buckets. This bag is getting awfully full. So there's quite a bit of a difference between a bucket and a half and 2 buckets. And we're going to try and make those holes and run that rope around again and see what happens with that. Okay, and we'll fill you in. Mess a little bit. There,
Okay, you're on.
try and put it up here. Okay, two full buckets of sand for a 16 by 30 polypropylene bag. That's not holding it, is it? Let go, please. I'll just do. It may be too much. 2 5-gallon buckets may be too much for this. We're barely holding this together. But we'll lay this down right here beside the other. And again, the corners are bad. I know the corners are bad. Something I gotta fix. Let's pound this down and see what the difference is. Okay. And of course, all those big chunks of clay and the silt and stuff, and cane, yeah, we want to make it as evenly flat as possible. Okay, so I mean, don't smack it just like on the corners to where it's like this now and stuff. Okay, we want to be able to flatten it all out, probably together as much as we can. Well, so far the end seems to be somewhat holding, but it is pretty tight. Here, I'll do a little. You're slanting us down this way quite a bit. This is going to be the tough part, trying to keep the bag, I think, nice and square of what that bag looks like. It'll be bag B. wherever our marker is. But Kane, let's try and measure it. Let's see what kind of where are we at?
23.
We're about 23 inches. And how thick? And make sure we go. It's about 15 inches thick. So it's about the same thickness as that. And then how thick is it that way?
About 5 inches.
It's about 5 inches, and this one was 4 inches. Okay, so that one, it's the same kind of, it's longer, it's just as wide, but it's longer, and it's thicker. Whenever you have 2 buckets in there, and this is, I mean, my goodness, we got that pretty solid. Yes, I know, we don't plan on pounding with sledgehammers the whole time. That's just not going to happen. So really, two buckets is a little different. That one's a little bit more square, even, than what this one was. These corners, but see, we got to make sure we don't pound too much on particular corners. It's got to go kind of go down even. It's okay. We're just experimenting. So there you have it with 2 different bags, a bucket and a half and 2 buckets. And when I mean buckets, I mean 5-gallon buckets. Ours just came, and this isn't for advertisement or anything, from Orscheln Farm and Home buckets, but it's just a 5-gallon bucket. And this is two full bags of that. The end seems to be holding. We could probably, I don't know, might be able to secure the ends a little bit better, but it looks to me like another bag will sit up against that a whole lot better, a whole lot flatter than what happened here. I think a bucket and a half is too loose. There's a lot of bag here that there isn't. There's like no bag here. There's nothing left. No, corners, but don't get me on the corners yet. There's nothing left, and so to really take advantage of the whole bag, 16 by 30 bag, I think 2 buckets of soil is the best way to go. But again, we're going to let this stuff kind of dry, sit, and we're going to do some other mixtures, and we'll be back in touch with you.